gentlemen, I will try to project my voice. Sometimes it works, other times I sound like a shrill person. Welcome to our September 9th, 2025 Civic Association. That is, we're in Port Jefferson Free Library that is graciously allows us to use this space. Port Jefferson Civic Association is a volunteer-run, entirely volunteer organization. You could be a voting member if you are a resident of Port Jefferson Incorporated Village, Port Jefferson School District, or Port Jefferson Fire District. In order to be a voting member, you need to attend at least 3 meetings in a year and pay all of the $20 of dues. Every month we try to bring something interesting, something engaging to our community that it impacts us as a community. Today we're going to be talking about the gas-powered leaf blowers and other equipment and the impact it has on us as villagers, our quality of life, and the quality of our environment. Before that, let me introduce our board members. We have Holly Filzame, our vice president. We have Marilyn Damascus, who is our treasurer. I'm looking at our recording secretary, Janice. Fleischer, and I always butcher your.
That's okay, Eden.
Eden, yes. And we have Kathleen McLean, who is our communications person. Do we have any reports from the officers? Nothing to report?
No.
Nothing to report? No reports. It was a very quiet summer.
I would like to give a report and yield my time to the Honorable Ms. Barbara Ransom, because she has certain
I'm
things
not
to do.
honorable any longer.
Once honorable, always honorable.
No, I don't think so. I'd be an elected official still to be honorable.
Well, you're very honorable.
We
Barbara
honor
has
you.
some updates of events in our area.
Alrighty.
Wow, talk about being the top of the agenda here. All right, well, I hope you all know that this Saturday is Dragon Roar. This is our 11th annual event. This year will probably, well, it'll be the largest just because of the amount of vendors we have, but we have 17 racing teams. From 9 to 5:15, I had nothing but Pan-Asian entertainment, Korean, Japanese, Chinese. We have 4 food trucks. I've tried to not have food trucks that are duplicating food that we have in the village, so trying to be very generous there. We have cultural crafts, children's activities, retail, educational, not-for-profits, about 20 different types of vendors. Opening ceremonies, we have an Asian color guard. We have monks coming in from the Buddhist temple in Center Reach who do a chant and awaken the dragon, and they bless the paddlers, and then we do the dotting of the I ceremony where you awaken the dragon. We have a dancing dragon this year. You've seen them all going through other Asian celebrations, and the head rests on the stage, and then we take red paint, mock red paint, and we dot certain spots on the dragon's head, which symbolizes certain things. The monks do their chants, and we have a good old time. So we also have land dragon races, which is new as of last year. These are inflatable dragons that will support 6 people. How am I saying? Dragon, and your legs go over it. What kind? Straddle's the word I'm looking for. So they straddle this inflatable dragon, and you have to run. You're holding it up like this, and you have to run.
Last year,
It's,
Barbara?
huh?
Did you win last year?
No, I'm too busy.
No straddling?
No, but so we have that. We have tug of war. So these are some activities while the teams are resting. There are 3 heats. Each heat is 250 meters. It's a straight diagonal. It comes across the fishing pier. This year new, I always try to come up with something new and exciting. Last year was the land dragons and a few other things, but this year, bring your dog, So it's the best dressed dragon costume. And in honor of that, we have a vendor, an ice cream vendor. It's non-dairy ice cream for dogs. It's called Salty Paws. And so Salty Paws will be there so you can treat your dog to an ice cream. And we're having the blessing of the animals. The Reverend Fowler for the First Presbyterian Church is going to come down and bless the dogs. So it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of work. And there's brought some extra programs if you want. Okay.
Where does it say the list? I don't.
What?
We don't know who's racing yet.
Oh, well, we do.
Oh, I mean on here.
Oh, no, I can't do that.
Oh, we don't know what
No,
teams are
because
racing?
I just had a change in the racing schedule again today. No, so
Okay.
it's 3 heats, so you're really racing against yourself in time. So the first heats have been scheduled now. They start at 9 o'clock, then you qualify for your second heat, and then the last heat is your championship. I'll be probably giving out 400 medals is what we do, so it's, all right.
Can I say that when I went for the first time last year,
Yeah.
I was in a rowing club, so we were like the helpers, people coming off, making sure they're not bumping into each other,
Right.
the life jackets and all that. It was so
Right.
much fun. And actually people hopped in. Sometimes there was
Pardon?
an empty seat in a boat. And someone would be like, someone come sit in the boat and row with us.
The captains are responsible for all the waivers and the liabilities. We have water insurance, we have land insurance. We have Suffolk County Police coming in for the crossing guards, so it's big.
Yeah.
All right, so moving along into the fall, we have another major event. It's the Harvest Festival. It's the 18th and 19th of October. It's going to be, again, a lot of fun. We have these activity passes that you can purchase for $15 per person, or if you buy 3, you get a fourth. Sorry, if you buy 3, you get the 4th for free. So that's not a bad thing. For $45, a family of 4 can go. We kept it at the same price. With that, you can get unlimited tractor hay rides, which is in front of the church, Harborview Church on East Main Street. You can go to the pumpkin patch, and you just can't go many times, but you get 1 pumpkin. So the kid can go in. We're bringing in about 150 little miniature pumpkins. They can take whatever pumpkin they want. We have this year, we have Meet the Farm Animals. So some llamas and ducks and whatever else we got out there. And then, this is big. You're hearing it for the first time. I don't even know if the village knows all about this yet. So we wanted to have a wow factor, and the people could bring in the carousel or a Ferris wheel, so we've done the next best thing. That's right, we're bringing in an inflatable corn maze. That's right, 30 by 30 corn maze.
Wow.
It's going to be in George Wallace's Frigate Steam Room parking lot. That's a private lot. He's allowing us to use it. There was a small trade-off I had to do to get that happen, but I've agreed to it. He as long as I have line dancing, he said I could use this lot. So that's going to be fun. So we have the Harvest Stilt Walkers. Last year, if you hadn't seen them, they're about 8 foot tall, 10 foot tall, and they're looking pretty scary looking. Local businesses will have different things. There's a potion, how to make a potion, things like that. So again, a lot of fun. 18th and 19th from 11 to 5. And if anyone, there's a QR code here if you want to, look at it. So we have that. Then moving along in October 10th to November 7th, we have once again the self-guided, full self-guided art walk. So if you're looking to, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention this one other thing for dog lovers. They have a Halloween dog party at the Port Jefferson Brewery. And then all this gets listed on a huge schedule. I've got a lot of little things. I'm not gonna, but this was brand new this year. So we have that. Going back to the art walk. So it's any artist that would like to participate. I have about 25 businesses that are going to allow us to use their front windows to display art. It could be a photograph, it could be a painting, it could be a small sculpture. Then we coordinate where the art goes and what windows and so forth. So we have that. In conjunction with the Harvest Festival, we also have Scarecrow Walk. You have any, it's only on East Main Street. We give the businesses first shot to put up a scarecrow, but then we have other not-for-profits or other businesses that want to come and put a scarecrow. It's one of the few things where you can actually market your business. So for instance, well, this one's easy, but Pasta usually does a scarecrow chef. Okay, so puts a chef hat on it, and it's cute, so you can market your own business. We have one, they're doing an upside-down scarecrow. So that should be fun. So that's, and it's free, you just have to do the work and put the crow up. And another thing that's coming up, and I'll just mention this to you, I dibble on a few things. We're doing a Rainbow Family and Friends Day at the Unitarian Fellowship Church in Stony Brook. It's I always get all these initials. It's OB. No, that's my OBGYN. No, that was last week. Sorry. It's the LGBT, and now we have an I and then A and something else. Right. So it's called Join Us for a Rainbow Family and Friends. It's September 20th. It's from 2 to 5, and I'm one of the organizers for this United Community Action Network. It's called UCAN. So we're involved with that. And
those flyers will be up there, Barbara, for us.
I'll leave some of these. They can take pictures of them. I wasn't bringing everything for everybody. I'm sorry. And then and this, I just got some collateral material. This is interesting. I don't know much about it yet. I'm looking into it, but the Black Pearl, which is the new restaurant down in Danvers, they're having a Odin's Flame Glass Blowing Festival. Black Pearl Maritime Festival, September 20th from 11 to 4 p.m., located at Danvers Marina and Hotel. I just got this. I'll put it on our calendar. And I'm not even going to start with the Festival of Trees, which I already have people wanting a tree at the Village Center, which the Chamber does too.
Thank you, Barbara.
Any other questions?
Just you could turn it.
Oh, I just turned this.
Yeah. Alrighty, I also want to acknowledge that we have Lori, and I blank on your last name, from Viteri, yes, from Steve Englebright's office, and we have Abigail Cho from Jonathan Kornreich's office. So if you have any of the,
And you also have Tom
from
Rebecca's, yeah.
from Rebecca Cassa's office. If you have any questions, concerns, anything that you would like to report to our elected representatives, please, you know who they are. Please do talk to them. Alrighty. On this note, unless there are any other questions or comments, I cede my time to John, who is our Quality of Life Committee Chairman, and our guest speaker, Bonnie Seeger.
So I'm not sure how I'm supposed to follow that. Dragon boats, dog parties, farm animals. I mean, this is like gas bowl, leaf bowers, electric blowers. I mean, so next time, let me go first, please.
Duly noted.
Thank you. Anyway, so thanks, Anna, for introducing me. Thanks for all the hard work that you do. Thanks to the board for everything that they do, and thank you that the elected officials are here. We really appreciate that. And then everybody who's here, thank you. Everybody who participates and makes this civic association strong, gives us the platform to talk about issues and make this village even better than it is right now. So everybody's much appreciated. Quick story. A bunch of years ago, my father was on the board of trustees at St. Charles Hospital, and he was actually a polio survivor. And gave back a lot. They made him Man of the Year. So got invited to a dinner, my mother, 3 sisters, myself. I had to wear a tuxedo for some reason, so I went out, I rented a tuxedo. We go out there, and he can talk like you can't believe. He gives a lovely speech, and it's like an hour. He covers everything. He's funny, he's gracious, he's complimentary, but he didn't do one thing. Anybody want to take a guess what he didn't do? Not you. Anybody? 3 extra points here if you can guess what he didn't do. Okay. He didn't acknowledge his family, and he didn't thank his family. And this is like one of the most gracious guys you know. So, with that being said, and he didn't live that one down, I'm still talking about 25 years later, I'm not going to make that same mistake again, because I don't want to be in the doghouse. And there's many reasons for me to be in the doghouse at my house, but this is not going to work. So that's my lovely wife, Chris, in the back there. She has been on the receiving end of many rants and raves from me, and Bonnie, who I'll introduce in a little bit, and our VJ, same thing, right? So the other halves here put up with a lot of stuff. I get fairly excitable if you hadn't really noticed, so I got to thank my wife for putting up for all this, and she's gone toe-to-toe with the landscapers from time to time, right? She stood up for us, which I much appreciate. So anyway, with that being said, we're going to talk about common sense regulations for gas-powered leaf blowers, and I'll be fairly blunt here. What we have going on right now in the village is pretty much the exact opposite of common sense. We have pretty much irresponsible usage year-round, having a really negative impact on the quality of life. The landscapers need to do a better job of taking care of their employees and being better partners in our community, right? We want them to be good partners, but they need to do a much better job about that. So we're going to talk about the negative impacts, which there's a lot. We're going to talk about what we're seeing in the industry. We're going to talk about what other communities have done. Many communities have realized that this is an issue and actually done something about it. So we're going to talk about some of those successes. And then we're going to talk, part of this is electric, right? Electric is basically on par or greater than gas right now, right? It has the power, it can get the job done, and it does not come with all the negative impacts that gas comes with. We even heard, and we got here a bit early, Carol told us there's some tool called the push broom.
No.
What is it called? Not the, like,
An electric broom.
an electric broom. I've never heard of that. Bonnie, who I'll introduce soon, hadn't even heard about it. So the technology's out there to be able to do landscaping in a responsible way and not have a negative impact and still get the same results. So that's what we're going to talk about. Anybody has any questions or comments, feel free as we go. We'll take questions and comments at the end, but certainly along the way, we can have this be a discussion. And of course, we'll propose some solutions with all these problems. So just quickly on me, went to Rocky Point High School, graduated from there, went off to college, worked in the city, and then my wife Chris and I moved back to Port Jefferson 4 years ago when we retired. Beautiful, beautiful place. I never knew it was so beautiful here. But I lived in the village of Flower Hill before I came here, and the village of Flower Hill and other communities had the same problem we have right now. Overuse of gas-powered leaf blowers and all the negative impacts. They did something about it. They put in common sense regulations, right, that solved the problem with really little to no effort that benefited everybody, landscapers included, whether they want to admit it or not, but it benefited them also. So that's a little bit of background on me. I want to introduce Dr. Bonnie Sager. She's going to be co-presenting with me. Why don't you stand up here while I introduce you? And our better half, VJ. So, Bonnie's, you know what? I always forget to advance the slide, so somebody can remind me, but. And Kathleen, I was inspired by your introductory email up there on the right-hand side there. AI is pretty unbelievable. Okay, so Dr. Bonnie Sager, I'm really happy to have her here, honored to have her here. She's an absolute pioneer on this topic. She's been at this for 13 plus years. She's an expert, like many others in this room, fought selflessly for the greater good. So Bonnie's gonna co-present with me. Very happy you came out here. She doesn't even live here. She lives in Huntington, so she drove out here. She doesn't really have a dog in a fight here like we do, but she's gracious enough to come out and help us with her expertise. She's been helping me probably for about 3 years now. Questions, guidance, resources. Like, I kind of know a lot now, but nothing compared to her. So, Bonnie, take it away from here.
Thank you very much.
am from Huntington, and I was a co-founder of what's called Huntington COM, Clean Alternative Landscaping Methods. And I started Huntington COM because I recognized that there was a problem with the health in our communities as well as the health of the landscaper. And we wanted to do something about that. My other co-founder was Dr. Lucy Weinstein, who is a retired pediatrician. Lucy was very concerned about the impact gas leaf blowers had on the health of our children. Children have immune systems that are weaker than adults because they have immature organs that are not fully developed to filter out toxins. They're also lower to the ground and they have higher respiratory rates, so they breathe in more of the garbage that the gas leaf blowers put out. So our next slide.
Yeah, so I'll talk about that. So let's go back though. Who's got the clicker? There we go. So let's talk about the problem, right? Quality of life. I mentioned this already. I tend to roam around anyway, but almost year-round usage, right? It's every day, Saturdays, Sundays, and holidays. It basically never ends. We're pretty much up to 10 months a year when they're running these things, right? It's terrible for the residents. It's terrible for the visitors who come to our village. It's terrible for the workers themselves. Awful for the environment and awful for the wildlife, right? So these are very dangerous machines. The technology is a two-stroke engine. I had never heard of a two-stroke engine until I started finding out about this stuff, but this is a very archaic machine. It spews toxins and oil and gas out into the environment, which, needless to say, is bad for everything. Clearly, they make a lot of noise. The decibels that it puts out it ranges, but anywhere from 100 up to 100 and whatever. Village code is 65. Right? So they are violating village code every single day they go out there and do this work. You want to know why they're doing it? Follow the money, right? So basically, this has become a de facto tool, whether the crews need it or not, right? It's being used year round. Theoretically, I guess it'll work for blowing leaves in the fall, but this is being used all year round. And it's devolved, it's going to sound harsh, but it's the truth, it's devolved into a revenue generating tool, not a landscaping tool. If you think about it, the more people they put on a job, the more money they're going to bill out. So if you want to understand like why this is happening, you pretty much just have to follow the money. Next slide. So there's a lot of impacts of negative impacts. We're going to have Bonnie talk about a couple of them here.
Noise is very debilitating, and noise we're calling in the medical community today the new secondhand smoke. Noise does a lot of things to our bodies, whether we recognize it or not. Some people aren't bothered by noise. Some people are. But whether you are or you aren't, noise increases your blood pressure. It's a fight or flight response. And it also increases your cortisol level, which can lead to diabetes. It increases your blood pressure. So noise is just one factor when we look at gas leaf blowers, but noise is very debilitating to both the worker, who the obvious effects are loss of hearing, and tinnitus, which can be a ringing in the ear. But there are many other factors. Noise impacts our quality of life. Noise is measured on a decibel level. Now, many people think, what's a decibel level? And landscapers will say, well, my gas blower is 65 decibels. So what's the difference between that and 55 or 75? It's only 10 decibel difference, but it's on a logarithmic scale. So if you have an increase in 10 decibels, you're doubling the sound impact or the noise that's perceived. Also, a gas leaf blower, the noise from it can travel up to half a mile away. So it impacts many neighbors in the neighborhood when they're at one property. Also, the noise component from a gas leaf blower has what's called a low frequency wave. And that low frequency will penetrate windows and walls. So if you're out on your deck or your patio or gardening and the neighbor's landscaper comes and you go inside your house to try to escape it, you shut your windows and your doors, good luck, because that low frequency will penetrate windows and walls. So there's no escaping it. So people that have home-based businesses are impacted by it. Kids trying to do homework are impacted by it. I see you nodding. During the pandemic, you told me you were trying to do work and they were constantly interrupting you. So there's many repercussions to it, besides the obvious of hearing loss and tinnitus. Okay, now there's pollution. As John said, it's a two-stroke engine, which is a very inefficient engine. If you've ever been to Bangkok or places in Thailand where they have those little tuk-tuks, those are two-stroke engines. They're so highly polluting that they've been banned in those countries because the pollution from them has caused so many health problems. And when you have health problems, there's a cost involved in the healthcare system to remediate them. So pollution is terrible. A gas leaf blower is very inefficient because of that two-stroke engine. It spews out 30% of its oil and gas unburned. And in that oil and gas that's being spewed out, you have 4 of the World Health Organization's top 10 carcinogens: 1,3-butadiene, toluene, formaldehyde, and 1,3-butadiene, did I say?
Yeah.
Formaldehyde, toluene, and butadiene. So you're constantly being exposed, especially the worker, to carcinogenic emissions. There's also a thing called fine particulates, PM 2.5. Fine particulates are so small, if you take a human hair, and you take the width of a human hair, you can put 30 fine particulates on that one hair. It's so small that when you breathe it in, it goes right through your lungs and it goes into your blood system. When it goes into your blood system, it gets transferred to your organs, and it can cause heart disease, lung cancer, all sorts of things. So the one that's most at risk is the worker themselves. So when you think about it, these guys are sacrificing their future health for a current paycheck, okay? That's a pretty cruel bargain to make, to have to earn a living. So, as we said, heart attack, stroke, cancer, especially lung, bladder, and breast cancers are the 3 typical cancers that you get from those 4 carcinogenic emissions from a gas leaf blower. Gasoline spillage is another thing people don't think of. On average, when you refill a piece of gas equipment, you spill 2 tablespoons of gasoline refilling it. If you've ever done it in your gas mower, you know that there's always a little that comes out. Well, you add that up, and over the course of a year on a nationwide basis, that amounts to more gas that's spilled than the Exxon Valdez incident was, okay? And that's been a fact from the EPA. So that little bit of gasoline that's constantly spilled goes into our groundwater. We're in an aquifer here on Long Island, okay? So it affects our water, it affects the environment, and it's a waste of gasoline, and it's poisonous. So those are some of the bad health impacts from gas leaf blowers.
Thank you. Next slide. I just realized something, Kathleen. I didn't thank you, right? I forgot to thank you for all the work you did on this presentation and being my partner in crime. I thank all these people. I'm used to being in the doghouse with my wife, but I don't want to be in your doghouse. So, like, in the 4 or 5 months that I've known Kathleen, like, we've gotten to know each other. She's like a rock star. Like, you're a rising star in this community, and now you're in it for the long haul. So, I appreciate everything you do. And I was sitting here like, I forgot to thank her. And she did a great job taking my original presentation and adding some flair to it. Anyway, all right.
If you're in the doghouse, you can always go get some doggy ice cream.
Yeah, exactly. Now I realize I got lots of things to do this weekend. We were going to do nothing. Okay. Anyway, get that. Now I feel better. I would have got home and felt awful. Okay, so take a look at this picture down here in the bottom left-hand corner. That's our firehouse, pretty much underwater. That's a picture from last year when we had that flooding. That's really scary to see our firehouse underwater like that right now. There's a lot of reasons for this, right? But one of the reasons for sure is soil erosion, right? The gas-powered leaf blowers that basically blowing at like 150 miles an hour constantly, it degrades the soil. So it basically obliterates the topsoil, and then it takes away all the natural characteristics that it has to absorb water. So you start degrading the soil, right? We get a lot of rain, the water doesn't get absorbed into the ground like it should, and then it just flows downhill. And next thing you know, you have something like that. Now, I'm not saying this by itself is the cause of that, but it's certainly not helping. Like, Mother Nature did not intend it for its leaves, for its dirt, for everything, insects that live in there to be blasted away by somebody using a device who shouldn't be using it and has really no regard whatsoever for what they're doing. So, next slide. All right, so there are manufacturers' guidelines that unfortunately are rarely followed. Echo and Still are 2 of the leading providers of these machines. So They're not to be used for blowing dusty materials. Now, those pictures are not from here in Port Jefferson, but they blow dirt, they blow empty parking lots, they blow the sidewalk, they blow empty parking lots. I've seen them blowing themselves, believe it or not. They blow anything, everything. I know that kind of sounds like off color, but I've seen them blowing, I've seen them blow each other. Yeah, the trucks.
Clean each other off.
They blow everything, right? Okay, not supposed to be for that. One blower at a time. So even in the summertime, when there's no rational reason to be using these devices, you'll see 2 or 3 of them at a time. Forget about it in the next couple of months. We're going to be looking at 5 or 6 at a time. It's complete overkill. Full throttle, so when these things are fired up all the way, they make a tremendous amount of noise. They can operate lower, but rarely do I see them doing it at a lower. It's always full steam ahead. They're supposed to be used less than 50 feet away from people or pets. So this summer, my wife and I were sitting out in the backyard, and a crew came to our neighbor next door, and basically 15 feet away from us, just started blowing. Not even a care in the world that, hey, there's 2 human beings sitting right here in their property, and he started blowing. So I wasn't gonna have any of that. So I politely got him to, got his attention and asked him to stop, and he was indignant. I was very polite about it too. I could get fired up quite quickly, but I was pretty calm that day. And he was indignant. He actually had the nerve to tell me that if you don't like it, go inside. So I now should go inside my own house because of what you're doing. And I guess the joke is on me, because even if I do go inside, like Bonnie said, those machines and that noise that it produces, they penetrate everything. So you can't even get away from this sound in your own house, let alone if you're outside walking trying to enjoy the beautiful village. And then personal protective equipment should be used. I think these machines are so dangerous that it wouldn't make a difference. So if they wore, headsets or breathing equipment, I don't think it would make a difference, but they rarely do. And then even on top of that, for anybody who's in the general area, kids, adults, older people, compromised people, what are they supposed to do? They're supposed to wear headphones, protective ear. It just doesn't make any sense. So local examples. So I could spend probably till next week if you want to talk about this, but I'm going to pull out a couple of most egregious ones that I've seen, and you can see this pretty much behavior every single day. Outside Mather Hospital, run by Northwell Health now, that is the last place in the world that you should be using these kind of gas-powered leaf blowers, right? The toxic fumes, all the damage it does to people's health. I would never expect this to happen in a hospital, but 5 workers, arm in arm, blowing a small pile of leaves. I actually wrote, I found Northwell Health's corporate social responsibility team, and they have a lot of pages on their website from the CEO, how much we care, all this great stuff, which is fantastic. I believe them. So I sent them a letter. They responded. It was a long letter encapsulating a lot of the stuff that I said here, and they responded very positively. So they said they're going to take some action. It's probably been a couple months. I haven't heard back from them, but I sent them another email over the weekend. I'm waiting to hear from back from them. But I'm hopeful they'll do something about it, because that's one of the dominoes that we need to fall. And they're the largest employer in New York State, right? So, and there was a couple more. I said just humor me for one more. Where I live, 5 workers side by side, 20 foot by 20 foot backyard. That's not even bigger than this room. You imagine 5 of those things in here, right? Another place, same exact landscaping company who's pretty abusive. No lawn, just rocks, no front yard, no backyard. 2 workers every Friday at like 4 o'clock. I'm in my backyard having a beer, and they just blow the rocks. And that's got nothing to do with landscaping. It's just generating revenue, right? This first example is an elderly woman, so they're taking advantage of her, right? This example here, it's a rental, so it's an absentee landlord. So the absentee landlord's not here to manage the crew. They're off somewhere. They don't hear this noise, but we're left behind. Anybody who's around to deal with that. And then Kathleen, that last one's for you. You want to mention that one at the golf course?
Yeah, about, I think it was early last year, or earlier this year, we were woken up by this ungodly sound. It was about 6 a.m. We do live across the street from the golf course. We're used to the low hum of the mowers, but this was such a racket. My wife Zena, who's a trustee, we were losing our mind. She ran out, grabbed her phone, and videotape this guy, and I wish she was here tonight, but she has him for 22 minutes, one young man standing without any protective gear, right on Winston Drive facing the golf course, blowing for over 22 minutes in one spot. I call the mayor calls the groundskeeper, it stops. And then it starts again. So I get dressed, I run out, and there's a different worker standing 5 feet down doing the same thing. So I couldn't get his attention, I bang on a trash can. He stops, I explain. I said, why are you doing this? He goes, well, the members, you know, they want to keep it neat, and we're told to. I said, you could take a push broom and just move it down. This guy's been here for 22 minutes and then you were here. So basically I said, I was a member, I didn't give a crap about the leaves on the side, and please stop. And he did stop. And just one more thing, last week I heard something on a Sunday. It was it was relentless. It was coming from the golf course. There was one man blowing on a concrete slab. It was some kind of ash. And I could find him because all I had to do was look for a 6-foot plume, and I found my way to him. He looked at me kind of dumbly. I said, my neighbors are sitting outside trying to enjoy a Sunday. Could you please stop? He went, stop. And he walked away.
Yeah, so this is like every day, all day long, and it all adds up. One person does it for 15 minutes, the next person down the block does it. So, and like I say here, you just need to follow the money. The more that they use these devices, the more money they're gonna make, and it comes at the expense of everything, really. All right, person with the clicker, move us along here. Yeah, she'll keep us under check, I can tell. So I'll buy and talk about this, but electric is now or better than gas. It does not come with all of the issues that gas comes with. Of course, the landscaper is gonna have some objections. 4 or 5 years ago, maybe those objections held some water. They don't anymore. So Bonnie's gonna talk about, I think we have 3 slides here just so you know there, Anna. Bonnie's gonna talk about some of these objections and the benefits of electric and why these objectives really don't hold water anymore.
And just going back to what you were saying a moment ago, when they blow everything, and what they do is they aerosolize whatever they are blowing. It can be brake dust in the street, it can be fertilizers, any type of chemicals that are on the lawn, it can be any type of toxins, rodent feces. When they blow at 100 miles an hour plus, that just all goes up into the air, okay? And some people may say, well, you know, I'm not home when the landscaper comes. So when I get back from work, my place looks pristine, and I'm not affected, but you are affected because those particulates we mentioned earlier and some of the emissions, they can stay in the air for hours to days, depending on weather conditions. So if it's a hot, humid day, that stuff is there, and unless your house is hermetically sealed, that stuff is so small that those fine particulates that go into your lung and into your blood system also go through any cracks through your doors or your windows or any place in your home. So just to what you said, to elaborate on that. So landscapers' objections to electric. We know that change is hard. No one likes change, and the landscaping industry is no different. They try to deny, delay, and cast doubt on whatever solutions are proposed. So they say that it's too expensive to go to battery blowers. Well, yes, battery blowers are more expensive up front than the gas are, but studies have shown, and any manufacturer of a battery blower today has on their website a break-even point calculator. So what you can do is you can put in how many hours a week you use it, how many gallons of gas you use, what a kilowatt of power costs in your neighborhood, and it will tell you what your break-even point is when you plug those figures in. Some people have gotten a break-even point as soon as 9 months. The average is about 1.5 years. So after 1.5 years, they're saving a lot of money because they don't need gas, they don't need oil, they don't need time to refuel. They're not using spark plugs, belts, hoses, degreasers, detergents, which are all part of maintaining a 2-stroke engine gas motor. The other aspect is, as a little aside, all those ancillary products end up in our landfill, which causes another problem, okay? But that's for another discussion. So after, say, that 1.5 years, you're saving all that money. All you're spending is for a kilowatt of energy to charge your battery. And I think in this area, it's around 16 cents a kilowatt, which is a lot cheaper than a gallon of gas, which is about $3 a gallon now. And that's the wild card. Gas can go up and down. A few years ago, it was over $4 a gallon. And then the landscapers who always cry, we're gonna have to raise prices if we go to battery, which isn't true, and it hasn't happened across the country. But they gave a surcharge to most of their customers when gasoline was over $4 a gallon, saying, we need to give you this surcharge because of what it's costing us. Okay? So, as we said, the maintenance will be reduced, so it's less time. Time is money. The time you're not spent filling and going to the gas station and tuning up your engines and everything else, you could get another customer or two and generate more revenue. Next slide.
Next slide, Anna.
Next slide.
There you go. We're good.
Okay. The other trope they always say is the electric blowers are not as powerful. It's going to take us longer. We're going to have to charge more. Well, yes, a few years ago we could agree with that statement, but today you have many battery-powered blowers that are as powerful, and in some instances even more powerful than a gas leaf blower. And that's measured in cubic feet per meter, miles per hour, and also newtons of energy. So if you look at any of the new battery blowers that are out there, whether it be Ego or Stihl, Husqvarna, they will all give you this information, and you can compare it to the gas, and you'll see that in many instances they're as powerful, if not more so, than what the gas is. So the trope again about, oh, we can't move heavy wet leaves in the fall, what are we going to do? No, today you can. You have the technology that can do it. It's a little bit of a learning curve, like anything. When you get a new cell phone, you have to learn how to use it again, right? Or a new computer. Same thing with battery. It's a little bit, you don't keep it on all the time the way they do gas, because they don't want to keep pulling the string. You just push a button, and as soon as you finish blowing that area, you release it to maintain battery life. So it's a little bit of a learning curve and a little bit of a change in habit, but not much. I mean, it isn't brain surgery. Next. Okay. The other, which we would have agreed a few years ago, that electric batteries take too long to recharge, or they say, how can I do it in the field? I can't, I don't have, I'm gonna have to use, the line we always hear, I'm gonna have to use a gas generator to charge my batteries. That's absolutely absurd and ridiculous. Any of the 200 places across the country that have banned them, no one is allowed to use a gas generator. It's just another trope that they use to make the argument that we can't go to battery. Today, the technology is so advanced that the runtime for the batteries is much longer than it was just a few years ago. You have rapid chargers that you can use, and in the field you have these devices now that you can put in your truck or your trailer, and they will charge your battery almost immediately. Crest just came out with this. It's called the CyberPack. Within 8 minutes you can fully charge your battery while you're in the field. It's Milwaukee. Milwaukee just came out with something very similar to it called the Daisy Chain. Ego has a system. They all have systems now where you can rapidly charge your battery in the field. No need for gas generators or for the excuse that, oh, what am I going to do? And I'm going to need so much infrastructure and I'm going to have to change everything. No, there are very simple, viable solutions today.
So there's many prominent organizations that are endorsing the bans and restrictions.
Yeah, we got Huntington Com. When we started this, we contacted a lot of the medical agencies. I'm also affiliated and a co-founder of QCA, Quiet Clean Alliance. John is a member of it. We have about 50 campaigns across the country that are doing the same thing, trying to eliminate the use of gas-powered leaf blowers in almost every state. There have been about 200 municipalities and villages that have already banned them, either summer bans or all-year bans. Montgomery County is the first county in the nation that has banned them all year, and that just went into effect. And it didn't take them years to phase it in. They did it within a year. Washington, D.C. has had a ban on the sale of gas leaf blowers as well as the use for over 3 years now, and it's been extremely successful. In terms of enforcement, that's the other thing they always say, well, how are we going to enforce this? It's going to be expensive. We don't want to waste police time. Enforcement in D.C. has been excellent. All you have to do is you go onto a website. If you have the name, the time, and the place of the landscaper that was in violation, you don't even have to have a picture, although that would be helpful, they will send out a warning the first time, and after that, you get a summons and a fine that increases over time if you keep violating the code. And DC has been very successful in it, very simple, hasn't cost them much, and it works. You know, again, it's not brain surgery. So these are some of the organizations that we've contacted. We have many more medical organizations. If any of you were interested, we have all the letters and documentation from them. As I mentioned, Dr. Lucy was chair of the American Academy of Pediatrics Environmental Health Committee here on Long Island and Queens. That was my co-founder in Huntington Com. The American Academy, as I described why kids are even more vulnerable than adults to this stuff, backed us. The American Lung Association wrote in favor of it because of COPD and asthma. Asthma is a big factor here on Long Island. A lot of people have asthma. The Icahn School of Medicine, Mount Sinai has a big presence here on Long Island. They just sent us a recent letter saying that the particulates from gas leaf blowers actually can cause premature infant weight to be less than it should be. It can also lead to Alzheimer's. Alzheimer's is a big problem. These particulates are deadly. All right? And then the Sierra Club came on board because of the things John spoke to about the environmental, the degradation of the soil, the runoff, our aquifers, and all of those things. The American Public Health Association came out with a statement about the noise, a noise policy, about how bad gas leaf blowers are for the worker and for the general public. And then we got several medical societies to back us in saying that they're bad and there should be something done at a governmental level on them.
Next, yeah, so I think sometimes, for me, I feel like I'm beating my head up against the wall, like maybe there's something wrong with me, but you have major medical organizations that are against these things. So won't go too much detail here. Bonnie mentioned a lot of this, but we're seeing a lot of local bans, restrictions. Flower Hill, which I mentioned where I used to live, we're getting a lot of traction on the East End now. And Westchester is like a shining star. Westchester, pretty much all of Westchester either has some bans or restrictions. The regulations that to put into place have had almost all positive impact, little to no negative impact. And Bonnie's talked about it, but the Armageddon that the industry predicts, it just doesn't happen, right? They've used better practices, they switched the technology, and it's better for them. It's better for them, right? Not only for us, it's better for them. All right, keep on going, Anna. So I use this motto a lot: the right tool at the right time for the right reasons. Electric power leaf blowers could work. Good old-fashioned rakes or push brooms, like I did when I was a kid, would work really good without having a negative impact. Most jobs do not require the brute force that gas power leaf blowers have. It's just complete overkill for what they're trying to do. The right time, some would argue that there's never a right time for this, but we need to be realistic. Really, the only real right time would be, and I say right, so don't quote me on that, but fall cleanup when we actually do have leaves. And the purpose of these things would be accumulate the leaves, collect them, and get rid of them, right? So right time, right tools, right time, right reason, and then common sense regulations will be a win for everybody, landscapers included, whether they want to admit it or not, and especially the workers. The workers have no voice. These workers have absolutely no voice. They'd probably be the happiest people around if they still had a job and they didn't have to use those machines, because at some point in time there'll be a study that will say, you know what, so much harm has been done to the workers themselves. So the solution with problems, we want to offer a solution. All these things I talked about, we want to solve, but the biggest thing here is we want to partner with the landscaping companies, right? We're not looking to put anybody out of business. We're not looking to do harm to the businesses. We just want them to act as responsible members of the business community, just the way every other business in this community acts. We need them to do that. We're willing to partner with them. Bonnie has met with the SVP of ACE, talk about they're willing to do demos, they're willing to do training, they're willing to get a discount. So holistically, if we get this thing going, we want to work with the landscaping companies. Next slide, please. So proposed common sense regulations. It's hard for me to believe that I even have to say this, and this is something that we have to put into the code, but ban the gas powered leaf blowers year-round near sensitive institutions, right? So sensitive institutions would be medical facilities, care centers, the aforementioned Mather and St. Charles, who I think are still using it, last place in the world these devices should be used. Schools and libraries, right? Like this has to be an absolute given. It should be happening, but it's not. No Saturdays, Sundays, and holidays year round. There's gotta be some peace and quiet sometime. Right now, you gotta wake up really early or stay up late to get any kind of peace and quiet. Gas-powered leaf blowers, only to be used from October 1st to December 30th, which is basically leaf season, and that's even fairly liberal because the leaves are really not around in October. And then with any kind of policy, there has to be some kind of penalty structure. 3 strikes and you're out. Thanks, Kathleen, for that great wording. We don't want to harm anybody. We don't want to fine people. We don't want to put people out of business. We just want them to act responsibly. So there's an escalating fine schedule here. After that, loss of license. Part of this would probably be, we need to get all these landscapers in the village licensed. We have no idea who they are, right? They're running around, they're running amok. We don't know who they are, what they're doing, and they're basically out of control, right? They've been unchecked for far too long. They need to be checked. So we'd have some kind of transition period also. And then the last slide. I was looking for like, a famous landscaping quote, but it was too dry. So I did this. So Martin Luther King Jr., the time is always right to do what is right. I think that speaks for itself. For me, the time is right now. The time has passed, but the time is right, and we need to do something about this. So that's all we got. Be very happy to take questions, comments, questions. So they were quite passionate about this topic. So, okay, you're handling up first.
Well, I'm going to be a negative voice here,
Okay.
and I'm going to be totally against your next to the last slide where your proposed changes are. You have so many people work 5 days a week. I'm not talking about the landscapers, but homeowners. To eliminate the use of them on Saturdays is an imposition. And a lot of what you say here is half-truths and lies. And we'll start with the half-truth. You make a good case for no leaf blowers of any kind, because an awful lot of the things that you say are detrimental, they're just as detrimental with the electric blowers. Now, I'm not a landscaper. I have never been a landscaper or own any kind of a business. I own 2 gas leaf blowers. I own an electric leaf blower, and I actually have a corded electric blower. And I also am well-schooled in decibel levels, and I've been turning wrenches since I was 12 years old. So I know how 2-cycle engines work. And if you're really concerned about 2-cycle engines, 95% of all the outboard motors being used in Port Jefferson Harbor are 2-cycle engines. 2-cycle engines. Think about how much pollution is coming out of those outboard motors. About the only ones which are in very limited use are the Yamahas, and they're 4-cycle. But all the others, Mercury, Evinrude, all of them, they're 2-cycle engines. Now, there's been vast improvements in 2-cycle engines over the years, and I can see that with an old leaf blower that I retired versus one that's relatively new. I also, you talk about cost. When I first bought my electric leaf blower, my battery-powered leaf blower, in the fall, I could clean my driveway, my front yard, and even clean the street in front of my house. Inside of 3 years, I'm barely able to clean the driveway before the battery goes dead. And a replacement battery is $164. And think about where these batteries are going. They're lithium-ion batteries. They're going somewhere too. Maybe they're being recycled, but if they're going into the landfill, that is far more detrimental than what you may get from gasoline. And gasoline is an ester. For all of you who don't know what an ester is, it means it vaporizes instantaneously. So if you spill gasoline, yes, it's not good the vapors are going in the air, but it ain't going in the soil. It just isn't. It's going to evaporate.
So
I see just as many things wrong with the electric leaf blowers in terms of particulates and asthma and everything else. All of those things exist with the electric leaf blowers.
Actually, they don't. You do have a point, that they do aerosolize because they blow.
Yes,
Yes, but they do not have emissions, they do not use gasoline.
that's true.
And they don't produce ground level ozone, and they don't produce fine particulate matter. So is it a perfect solution? No, it isn't. Is it better than gas? Yes, it is.
Well, I disagree.
So I think,
You're entitled to, but I'd like you to have facts
I
and quote.
agree with the idea that limiting some of the use. It's crazy the amount of guys that are running around blowing a few grass clippings after mowing somebody's lawn. That's nuts. That's crazy. But in terms of cleaning up leaves and things like that, there is no substitute. The electric is good, but it's costly. It's extremely costly. It's not cheap because of the cost of replacing the batteries.
Point taken. Next question. Hold on. This and this.
Oh, I saw the Facebook page, and I saw the commentary was turned off.
Yes.
It sounded like, was something good, getting a lot of action? Could we see it? That was turned off?
We just never turned it on.
We never turned it on.
You never turned it on? But I saw one comment. This is ridiculous.
Wasn't they called it?
There was one comment, this is ridiculous. Why did you turn it off?
I didn't,
We never turned it on.
Why didn't you turn it on?
we were told not to.
Why not?
It's just an announcement page, that's all.
They need a volunteer to
It
come
seemed
and
rather
set it up.
ridiculous.
No,
I
the
mean,
civic just doesn't turn it on
Volunteer,
for any reason.
did somebody just
Why not?
volunteer?
No. Like, this is not up for discussion.
Yeah.
We are not running a Facebook. We are not gonna have any, we did just send out an email asking whether people would be interested. We got some interest in the email server, discussion. Some people suggested the Facebook. Eventually, we've decided that, A, given the amount of interest, and two, given the amount of work that it would take to actually moderate any written discussion, we didn't want it to devolve into a lot of shouting matches. We've decided that if we have an issue that we would like to debate, we would like to debate in person. Please come in and have those discussions there. So that's why we have an announcement page on the Facebook, and that's the only thing that we will do. We will not allow back and forth email
It's not
comments
for that,
on that.
it's just to
Yeah.
spread the word that there's a meeting.
So this is
Alrighty,
it.
Holly?
20 people?
I just wanted to make 2 points. One is that I have read that the gas leaf blower used for 1 hour creates the same amount of pollution as driving your car for 1,000 miles.
Can't hear you.
Microphone?
I can make my voice louder, thank you. That if you use a gas blower for 1 hour, it's the same amount of pollution created, and that's carbon dioxide, as driving your car for 1,000 miles. And just because we also have two-stroke motors in the harbor making pollution, it does not make it right to make more pollution. I think everybody would agree with that. The other thing that I wanted to point out is that we don't really, and I admit, I certainly don't like the idea of people blowing a pile of rocks or whatever, make work stuff that goes on. But we actually are too obsessed, in my view, with blowing leaves in the first place. If you just use your electric mower to go back and forth over the leaves and create little leaves, move them aside, or just let them stay on the lawn to fertilize it, you do not destroy the insect eggs. Many of us wonder why we don't have fireflies anymore in our yards. If you leave your leaves, you will. When I had a landscaping company, now I mulch my leaves and I don't need them. But I would tell them, don't blow the leaves off the flower beds, because that's protecting the leaves. The mulch is very protective for the plants. We actually should not be destroying the vast numbers of invertebrates that we are destroying. In fact, we have lost 50% of our invertebrates in the last, let's say, 10 years. That's totally destructive to our food chains. So I would suggest not blowing the leaves much at all. Use your lawnmower to mulch them. If you want to rake up some of that pile and put it in your compost heap, that's great. Otherwise, you can blow some leaves onto the flower beds if you want to, or rake them. You don't really need, I use no blowers ever. And I do move the leaves off of my lawn.
All right,
Very well said. You know, that's a whole other topic, but that's
The
extremely
obsession
well
with
said.
weeds, it's crazy.
I know.
They're not
There's only
dirt.
so much
They're
stuff we
not
can talk
poison.
about in one
They're
session.
good.
But Bonnie's nodding her head inside for sure. Thank you, that's great information.
I have a question, maybe you know the answer. You know, replacement batteries, you hear about that on the electric vehicles, that they're very expensive, they're very heavy. Obviously, it's expensive, but how long do they last? You know, like if you're buying like the super landscaper version of a battery for your unit, how long do they get, you know,
The
recharged?
lifespan?
Yeah,
The
lifespan.
lifespan?
Yeah.
Well, the newer ones are a different technology than what they were a couple of years ago. Now, about 6 years ago, battery blowers were becoming more in the mainstream. And the commercial grade, we're not talking homeowners that you might get at Lowe's or something or at Home Depot. The commercial grade batteries are still in use today after 6 years. So the newer ones will probably last longer than that.
I don't know, we had our equipment?
We've had our equipment for, what, 8 years now? We're not commercial, but we have an acre property and we do everything with electric, and our batteries are still going strong.
We haven't lost
So-
one battery.
Haven't lost one battery. So, and in terms of the batteries, yes, they are lithium, most of them, although some of the technologies are changing, but they are recyclable. Most of the manufacturers will take them back. Home Depot, as a matter of fact, has made a statement that by 2028, 85% of the equipment that they sell will be battery. They're not going to be carrying gas because they feel it's so environmentally degradation and it doesn't go along with their corporate responsibility. So again, they carry some commercial grade, but they're more for the homeowner. But that's a pretty big statement when a Home Depot, which operates on profit and is on the stock exchange, is saying we're going to be doing away with 85% of our gas equipment. And Lowe's is following suit. Ace Hardware is doing the same thing. So it's a trend. You can fight the trend, but eventually it's going to happen. So we say, why not do it sooner rather than later? Protect health, protect the environment. What's the downside? Yes, they are more expensive up front, but as we said, you can have a break even and then have more profit because you're not doing all the maintenance and the ancillary products within a year and a half, depending on the nature of your business. So from a health perspective, from a worker, from social justice, these workers don't know what they're being exposed to. They don't know what fine particulate is. They don't know what benzene is. They don't know what the emissions are. They're trying to earn a living, and we're not trying to hurt landscapers at all, or, you know, they do a valuable service. They keep our communities clean, and not clean, but they keep it upkeep and maintained. So neat, yes, thank you. So, you know, that's not the point. It's not us versus them. It's like, let's go to a more common sense, more responsible way of maintaining our yards and our public spaces. That's better for everybody.
One of the really interesting things that I remember when I was following the debate about the Washington DC introducing the ban, that the greatest opposition to that introduction weren't the landscaper companies. They were the homeowners who
yes.
were saying exactly the same argument. How are we going to do this? We are working. We can't make up a lot of the time to doing that. This will be very costly. However, they managed to bring it in, and Washington DC has not turned into a pile of unkept weeds.
And I will say too, is, I mean, that's a valid point. And I don't want to pick on the landscapers, but I spend an inordinate amount of time outside bike riding, walking around, so I see how it's being used. It's not the homeowners that are with the abuses here. It's very rarely a homeowner's doing this, right? It's the landscapers. Think of how many crews are out in the field every single day. It's not the one-off homeowner like yourself who just wants to do something, right? So I don't want to pick on the landscapers, but they're the problem, not the homeowners.
Carter?
Has there ever been any conversation to lobbying manufacturers of electric blowers to try to create some type of incentive for landscapers to have purchase this equipment with some type of a rebate program or a discount so that it makes it more palatable, to put that carrot in front of landscapers and say, listen, you trade in 3 of these gas blower things and we'll give you 2 electric blowers or some type of program. Has there any been
Yes,
people?
there has been. As a matter of fact, this year, it passed the New York State Senate. It was on the assembly floor. The clock ran out on it. Assemblyman Otis was the sponsor of it. it will subsidize almost 75% of the cost of a battery blower. So it will cost them very little money to transition. We've also spoke, as John mentioned, I met with the Senior Vice President of Ace Hardware. They're willing to work with us also and have manufacturers give maybe an extra battery for free and offer additional discounts. So it'll be almost, if it passes, it will be almost like a free ride to transition. It just has to get either signed into the governor's budget, or it's going to be reintroduced. Assemblyman Otis, who we met with 2 weeks ago, it's going to be reintroduced in January when they reconvene, and they'll go to a vote. It's already passed the Senate. It's a bipartisan vote. He feels feels it's no problem. It's going to be a fait accompli.
Also with the proposed legislation, is this really earmarked for landscapers where that doesn't really should be carried over to homeowners? So if a homeowner wants to work on the weekend, so be it, but really, is this really for landscapers, or is it a blanket legislation,
No,
no matter what?
the incentive would be for professional landscapers and for municipalities. So if your
Right.
municipality.
So a homeowner can use their gas
So
powered.
so I think you're
There's
gonna have to propose.
One is a
regula-
law and one is a rebate.
Yeah, I think you.
No, I'm
yeah.
changing the subject.
She's talking about to
I'm
propose
talking,
regulations.
Yeah, I mean, what you're presenting here is really focused on landscapers and commercial users, but then there's the homeowner side of it.
That,
So-
in Westchester, there are 16 towns, only one town, Somers hasn't put any type of restriction on gas leaf blowers. Each town has made that decision based on what they feel is the most responsible. Larchmont is one of the most regulated. Larchmont has banned gas leaf blowers all year, and they will only allow battery blowers 3 months out
That's
of
for
the year.
everyone.
That's for
Doesn't
everyone.
matter if you're commercial or
Doesn't matter if you're
homeowner.
commercial or homeowner.
Okay.
So, it all depends on where you live and what your council or your mayor and trustees vote for.
I think
As
just
a
from here,
personal-
listen, we're just looking for common sense, open for discussion, flexibility, so, I don't know, like I said, the biggest problem is the commercial, not the homeowner, so, maybe that makes sense, I don't know. But
I think.
we need more discussion about this, that's for sure.
Also PSCG offers rebates. When we were upgrading our lawn equipment, they offered us, I don't remember the exact numbers, but they offered us a rebate based on the fact that we have a electric mower and electric blower, and they offered us a rebate as a part of our electric bill. Yep. So,
I noticed quite a few Long Island villages had the ban. How have the contractors responded? Do they have a battery crew and a gas crew? Or do they have both equipment on, depending on where they're going?
Well, yeah, and that's caused a problem because some of them don't recognize where the boundaries are, and if they cross over from North Hempstead into maybe Oyster Bay, it's a different set of rules and regulations. But again, that's up to the government, to educate, and that's why, going back to John's point, you really need to have your landscapers licensed and insured and registered with your town or your village. Because if not, you don't know who's operating, and they may not be insured. And if they have an accident on your property, whether it be from a lawnmower, a blower, a chainsaw, you've got a problem, they're gonna sue you. So that you need to prove that you're licensed and you're insured. That's the minimum. So,
We had that discussion with tree removal companies, whether they're licensed.
Somebody
by
the county.
The county.
Suffolk County licenses
Suffolk County licenses.
landscapers,
well,
not the
they do it
town.
under, the way they license the landscapers in Suffolk County, it comes under a very broad, general
Yeah,
contractors. We've asked them, would they break it out so we would have a number of how many landscapers that are licensed and insured are operating in Suffolk County. As we know, there are many unlicensed. They pull up in a pickup truck earning some extra money, they come after hours, they come on a Sunday. Well, that's a whole separate other issue, but there are many that are not licensed and insured and aren't even landscapers. They don't have a name, they come with a pickup truck or whatever, or a little, what's been a trend is they rent a Home Depot van for the weekend, fill it up with, the lawnmower, the blower, the edger, and they go around, and they don't even have to have a vehicle that's licensed as a landscaping truck. because they just rent this for the weekend. So there's, it's kind of the Wild West, and we need a little bit more regulations. And this way, if you do pass legislation or have some type of rules and regulations, if they're registered with the town, you can educate them and you can inform them as to what your regulations are. Otherwise, there's no means of communication.
Questions, comments?
I have one other point. I think, Holly, you mentioned mulching leaves, but John, you're talking about this incessant blowing of grass clippings, and grass is the kind of thing that you can easily mulch. So I'm wondering if there are best practices, if there's, can we work with, say we license all of our landscapers, which itself is a big if, but if you did have them all licensed, could you say, look, mulch your grass clippings, don't blow this blade from one end of the driveway to the other.
It just blows back.
You could suggest it. I don't think you could necessarily mandate it.
Oh.
And the problem is, a lot of these landscapers, they're movable workforces. Some are day laborers, some, that's the problem with some of the health when we discussed insurance before. Many of them don't have insurance when they're working for these landscaping companies, and if they do, it's probably not a generous policy. And maybe 10 years from now, when they lose their hearing or they develop lung cancer, are they still in the area? They may have moved on to a different state, to a different town. It's very difficult to track and keep, records on these people. So you can suggest it, but I don't think you could mandate that they have to mulch.
There's no best practices.
There are best practices.
Oh.
I mean, the leave the leaves, and there's Long Island, Rewild. They all have best practices. Yeah, but we call them the mow, blow, and go guys. They're not trained horticulturists. They're not real landscapers in the tradition of years ago, the Italian landscapers that did everything by hand. They're cheap. For the most part, they're cheap labor, okay? And they're disposable, and that's why social justice comes in. Why should these guys be exposed to this? Why should they be sacrificing their future health? Because they have to earn a living today. It's unfair, it's unjust, and in the end, it costs us all a lot, because when they lose their hearing, it leads to Alzheimer's. There's a cost for hearing aids. Can they afford it? You become isolated if you can't hear. If you develop lung cancer and you don't have health insurance, how are you going to get treatment? So it's not simple as just one little item. It's kind of layered.
And we mentioned the cost, right? So we talk about the cost of electric being, in the short term, being more expensive, but we're not factoring the cost of health insurance for people who have to go to the hospital and have to go to the ER, right? The impact on the environment, even the impact on the flooding. How much money is that flooding costing Port Jefferson? Right, so maybe it's okay. Electric is more expensive, but I can tell you what: the cost of cleaning up downtown when it floods, or the disaster that we have when the fire department can't do anything because of the flooding, like those are all costs that go way beyond what it's going to take. What it would cost for a company to get an electric. It becomes a societal cost, right? So
If I could just explain the connection between the leaf blowers and the flooding, it sounds like it's not necessarily very straightforward. When we're blowing the leaves constantly, not just every so often, but constantly, that fine particulate matter that you're describing get lodged also into the ground, and it creates like a cake sheet that is not permeable for water. It's not absorbent for water. Just to give you an example, just today I was doing some of the landscaping in my garden, although many of the people who would drive by will say these are weeds, no one is keeping them. These are actually intentional plantings. When I started doing this work, I couldn't dig into the soil. It was so compacted, it was so strong, I could not literally penetrate it. I had to use an axe pick? Pickaxe, yes, to dig a hole. Now that we do use leaf blowers every so often on the very concentrated areas, but today when I was digging out, I was able to dig out the area with my hands, because we left the leaves, because we allowed for a lot of the native plants to grow. And I've been experimenting in my own yard. I've been watching how much water accumulates on the edges of my property because we're at the hill. And I've been observing there's a lot less water that runs off my property because I've allowed for that more porous soil to develop. But this is where the connection with the too much blowing, when it's every week in and week out, it creates this kind of like pan that doesn't allow for the water to permeate. And then we have issues with the aquifer and the rest of the stuff. So.
Yeah, it also blows away the topsoil, which you need to keep and it kills good soil microbes. It also kills any type of pollinators. Some bees nest underground. As someone mentioned before, it kills a lot of the larvae of fireflies that nest underground and take 2 years to develop. So there's a lot of things. The other thing is you have when they put down the fertilizer, they blow, or they'll put down the fertilizer the next day, the guy comes and he mows and blows your lawn. Well, when that fertilizer ends up in the street and they blow it, it ends up in the storm drains, which goes out to the Great South Bay and the Long Island Sound, which adds to our algae bloom, because what's fertilizer? It's nitrogen. Now, that's not the only cause, but it's a contributing cause and something that isn't necessary. So just another thing.
Please.
Does the use of blowers affect the spread of ticks at all, or have any effect?
Not that I'm aware of. I don't think so. Some people say, well, if you don't blow away the leaves, the ticks will nest in them. But ticks are going to be there. If you have deer, which we have a huge population of deer, whether you leave the leaves or you don't leave the leaves, you're going to have ticks.
With the ticks, another point, just because I was researching that, I have Lyme, my kids have Lyme, my husband has Lyme, and one of the really interesting points is that the best transmitters of ticks are white-footed mouse or the house mouse. Yep. And they are the best adaptable to live in the lawns or in our built-up environment. Any other animals, including squirrels, possums,
Bunnies,
rabbits, groundhogs, you name it, are a lot less likely to transmit Lyme from the bite of the ticks. So the more we have this perfect lawn with no areas to shelter, the more we create the environment where it's easier for ticks to transfer Lyme from mice to mice, versus when they have a variety of animals to bite, and there's less chance of them to transfer. It's, what's that?
A lot of those groundhogs, possums eat the ticks.
Eat the ticks as well,
That's why the
yes.
golf course put turkeys out. And then every time I'm on, atoll, I go, eat those ticks, eat those ticks. They're everywhere, and now we see lots of turkeys.
Yep. And also fireflies who nest in the ground eat soft bodies, invertebrates, included ticks. Any other questions?
Yeah.
Please.
Where do we go from here?
We can write the proposal to the with the code to the village and ask them to vote on that.
Okay.
Does that sound good?
And then how does that get communicated to the landscapers? And do the landscapers come to a meeting like that? How do you?
This is where we will be getting in touch with our
Yeah.
elected representatives and asking them how do we move this forward. Yeah,
Well,
both on the state level and as far down as the local level.
I will tell you, the landscapers should be included in the discussion. If they're not, you're going to have outcries. But I will also caution you, when the landscapers come, they're going to tell you all sorts of tropes. Like we discussed before, it's not ready. We want to join and we want to be responsible, but we have to do it in a slow and responsible manner. Well, my question would be, what's your definition of responsible? Is it responsible? Should we allow smoking in restaurants and in planes? When that was proposed, the restaurants all said, oh my God, we're going to go out of business, we're going to lose jobs, and that's what you're going to hear from the landscapers, because they can't use one piece of equipment or transition to one. We're not asking them to go all electric. So is it responsible to let people smoke on planes or in restaurants? No, and it didn't hurt the restaurant industry at all. Is it responsible to leave maybe a little bit of lead in paint so the lead industry can transition out? No, it's a public health issue, and it should be addressed as such and eliminated as soon as possible. Yeah, seatbelts. Don't tell me what to do in my car. I paid for it, and then the car manufacturers all said, oh, we're going to have to raise the price of cars because we now have to put seatbelts in. Did it affect anything? No. It's just arguments that you have to be prepared for. But yes, landscapers should be included, and they should have a voice at the table, and they should be educated. And I'm telling you, the Nassau-Suffolk Landscaping and Grounds Association is very anti any change. And they will come out and they will say, you gotta do it responsibly and slowly, and it's not there yet. Well, it is. And that's where an Ace Hardware will come in, and they have the vendors from Milwaukee, from Ego, from Still is one of their big carriers. They are more than happy to come in, show them the latest technology and how it works, and they'll be able to see and feel and touch with their own eyes and their own senses and see that some of the things they're talking about maybe were true 7, 8 years ago, but not today. But yeah, you have to include them.
Wonderful. Let's give it up to John and our next meeting will be October 13th. We will be hosting a Meet the Candidate night between our current Suffolk County representative and the challenger. Please come out. We need to clear out here at 8:30, 8:45. The guards will come in asking us to leave. In the meantime, please mingle around, ask your questions. Thank you so much.